Welcome to the Emmanuel Croydon Sermon Podcast. We seek to be a place of unconditional welcome, Christ-centered revival, and deep discipleship for our generation and the next in South Croydon and beyond. We hope you enjoy this sermon from our morning service.
Good morning, church. Happy Easter. I'll be reading from Matthew 28, 1 to 10, and you can find that on page 1010 in the Pew Bible. After the Sabbath, at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. The angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you'll see him. Now I have told you." So the woman hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met with them. "Greetings," he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." This is the word of the Lord.
So the next part of our passage is Matthew 28, verses 11 to 15, which is on page 1011 in the Pew Bibles, but it'll also be on the screen. And it's the guards' report. While the women were on their way, some of the guards went into the city and reported to the chief priests everything that had happened. When the chief priests had met with the elders and devised a plan, they gave the soldiers a large sum of money, telling them, "You are to say, his disciples came during the night and stole him away while we were asleep. If this report gets to the governor, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble." So the soldiers took the money and did as they were instructed. And this story has been widely circulated among the Jews to this very day.
I'm going to be reading Matthew 28, verse 16 to 20. The 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. Then Jesus came to them and said, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of age." This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Great job. Well, good morning, everyone. Let me add my welcome to Natasha's. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. Wonderful to be in such a full church. Do keep hold of these. If you haven't noticed it, most of the passage that we're going to be looking at is on the back here. And inside, there are also some little lines for you to write your own responses. I've put some pens on the inside of the pews here. You might want to just look along the pew. Not enough for everyone, but if there's someone who looks like they would benefit from a bit of scrawling and doodling, then they're absolutely welcome to do that. And maybe as you do that, have a think about what this day means to you. Well, I wonder if this particular image, if we could have our first one, rings any bells for anyone. What's this? Artemis 2. Very good. This is the space rocket launch this week. It's the biggest rocket ever launched by NASA. First human-occupied craft to go back into moon orbit in more than 50 years. But slightly less well known is the person up there. Does anyone know who that is? Oh, yeah, very, very sharp. That is not one of the astronauts on Artemis 2, but it is James Irwin. He is one of the last people to step onto the surface of the moon back in 1971. His mission was to go to the moon and to look at the moon's geological structure, to collect some samples to understand the moon's history. But what James Irwin found, or at least the most important thing that he found, was not exactly what he was looking for. What he found was not exactly what he was looking for. When he got to the moon, he looked back at Earth, and Earth looked so tiny. He said it looked like a little Christmas tree decoration. And all of a sudden, he felt an immense sense of the presence of God. And that spiritual encounter on the moon changed his life. He went to the moon, obviously an astronaut. He came back an evangelist. And he determined to spend the rest of his life sharing with people the good news about Jesus Christ. And he had a very famous line, and you may have heard it before. Jesus walking on the earth is more important than, guess what? Man walking on the moon. James Irwin went to space looking for one thing, but he found something else. He went looking for one thing and actually found the Lord. Well, so it was with the women at the tomb. And you might want to take your card, just take it up closed like this, first of all. As they come to the tomb, it is a sad scene. I wonder what you see on the front of your card as they're folded there. The angel they meet describes why they've come to the tomb. He says, I know that you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. It's the second day after Jesus had died on this cross here. Jesus, the disciples' leader, their hope, the hope of the whole nation, the future of the people. He's had this crown. What kind of a crown is it? A crown of thorns pressed on his brow. And that crown of thorns is like a cruel joke. It's saying, oh, you don't look like you're in charge of very much now, do you? And now these women, as a final act of devotion, they've come to anoint Jesus' body. A very sad job. They had come looking for a man who was dead. But they found something else. They found something else. There was a violent earthquake. An angel appeared to them, bright as lightning, and he said, do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. Now, open up the inside of your little card. You were looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen just as he said. Jesus was alive. And you can see the stone rolled away from the tomb there. But was he? Was he? Was he really alive? These women were from another age, weren't they? They probably wouldn't get a pass mark if they had to take your end-of-term biology test. But you know they knew the basics. Of course they did. They knew that death is final. They knew that the Romans never let a person survive crucifixion. And yet, to their total surprise, they came to the grave and it was empty. And did you hear, as Fiona was reading, the Roman guards acknowledged that too. When the chief priests had met with the elders, devised a plan, they gave the soldiers who had guarded the tomb a large sum of money, telling them, you are to say his disciples came during the night and stole him away while we were asleep. The Roman guards were bribed to keep the peace by telling tales. But did you notice what no one was trying to say? No one pretended that the tomb was anything other than empty. That much was agreed. But of course, beyond the empty grave, there were encounters with the risen Jesus. And we see that being flagged up in verse 10 here. Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me. And if we read the whole of the New Testament, we see so many occurrences of that. Over 500 people witnessed Jesus. The resurrection really happened. And that's such an important thing to say today, isn't it? Some people think the resurrection is a legend, a hopeful legend, but a legend nevertheless. Something that the disciples cooked up over time when, they were thinking, how can we kind of make a positive story out of what went wrong? But actually, it is hopeful, but it's hopeful, as far as the first disciples are concerned, only because they actually were convinced it happened. The resurrection is not an event for the gullible. It is an event for the skeptic. It is there to convince us. It is a miracle that no one believed would happen, and yet nevertheless, they witnessed occur. And by the way, if you've got questions about that, I'd love to invite you on our Christianity Explored course starting on Thursday, the 16th of April. Or do just come and ask your questions today. I'd love to speak with you about it. But actually, when Matthew, the gospel writer, wrote about the resurrection, he wasn't just concerned with showing it happened. He wanted his readers to know what it meant. And here you might want to open up your booklet fully and look at that verse right in the middle that we already read. Then the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had told him. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And then Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. That's right, the resurrection demonstrates Jesus' authority. Next slide, please. Every now and again, I get a video on my social media. And it goes something like, there are variations on this. Some of you have seen this, haven't you? I can see by your smiles. There is someone who looks very unathletic and generally like they've seen better days. And they walk up to some outdoor gym area. And in this area, the young people who are all like this, doing their reps, and they look at this guy and they snigger a bit and they usually say something rude about him. And the reason is because basically in that gym, you get respect if you can, do something impressive with the weights. And if you can't, you don't. And then this guy jumps on the apparatus or he says, let me have a go. And they all laugh and they think this is going to be ridiculous. And then he stands up and lifts an unbelievable amount. And the guys are completely bewildered. And all of a sudden, they totally respect him. When Jesus rose again, he showed he had power. Power that no other person has ever had. The power to conquer sin and death. And when we grasp that fully, what happened at the resurrection, we realize, wow, this is someone we want to listen to. Now, where does that bite for us? Well, maybe what you struggle with is guilt. Here is someone who can genuinely deal with yours and my guilt. Maybe you're in the shadow of death right now. For yourself, maybe life is short, or a loved one. Jesus can give me real hope beyond the grave. But there's more. It says, all authority has been given to me. That means Jesus' authority is rightful. He's in charge, and he should be. Some people take authority, as we were thinking about earlier, when it's not their place. Maybe there's a family member who just bullies everyone else by their mood. Maybe there's that school bully who makes everyone else dance around them in the playground. Maybe there's a leader of that nation who seems to act like the fate of millions of people. It's just their own personal playground. Jesus is the one, not just because he says he is the one, but because God says so, and it's his call to make. But also, did you notice how much authority? How much authority is Jesus given? All. What, all the authority on earth? All authority in heaven and on earth. There's no part of our lives that doesn't fall under Jesus' authority. Jesus' authority is not for Easter Sunday morning and the rest not. It's not for maybe the kind of religious parts of our life, but not really elsewhere. Every part of your life and mine falls under Jesus' authority. He's in charge. Now, I wonder how you feel about that this morning. How do you feel about Jesus' authority? It might be something to think about this week. I started my working life out as a teacher, and there was one conversation that I always remember. I was a form tutor, and so I would look at it was a boarding school, so I was kind of in the place of the parents to some extent, and I would look at the boys' report cards with them. And I remember on one occasion, one of my boys had been particularly naughty in physics, I think it was. And I said, look, let's call him Basil, shall we? Look, Basil, why is your physics teacher so unimpressed? Why are you messing around in his classes? And this is what Basil said, and it stuck with me. He said, yes, sir, but my teacher has no control. Now just think about that for a moment. I realized Basil was saying two things. Number one, he was saying he sort of wanted his teacher to be in control. Like, if the teacher had been in control, he would have done what he said. But also, let's be honest, Basil was clearly one of the main reasons the teacher was not in control. That's us. We want authority. Don't you want someone to sort out the world right now? You want that person to step in there and say, right, enough of this. This is a complete mess. You're going to do that. You're going to do that. And everyone goes, thank goodness. But when someone tells you what to do, you're not having it, are you? And neither am I. That's the challenge. So how do you feel about Jesus' authority? Maybe you would say, well, I've come to church. I accept his authority. But to be honest, it doesn't sound like a good thing. Maybe you've got very bad experience of authority in your life. Maybe the people in authority over you, they've hurt you, they've oppressed you. You think this isn't going to work out well. Remember that Jesus, who is in authority, he loves you so much that he went to the cross to die for you. Will he not rule you for your good? Yes, he will. Or maybe, if you're honest, you just don't really like someone else calling the shots for you. Maybe you have actually, if you're honest, you've been running from Jesus' authority. And you know it. And listen, to a certain extent, that's all of us, isn't it? At some level. But our reluctance does not make us right. Just because I say you're not in charge doesn't mean you're not in charge. That's actually not for me to determine. And besides, the world in which you're king or I am king is not a great place. Let's be honest. And here is the good news. Jesus, his authority is one of deep love for his creation. For those who return to him, he has authority to make us his brothers and sisters, make us children of God. It is a good place to be under his authority. Or maybe lastly, what you're really thinking is this. All right, that's all very well, all authority. But where is he? Where is this Jesus guy with all authority? I know the people in my workplace or in my school, they don't seem to care too much about Jesus. They just carry on doing what they want to do. And it doesn't seem to make very much difference to them. Where is this authority? Well, what do you think Matthew, the writer of the Gospels, would have said to you about that? Remember, in Matthew's day, there were a handful, maybe a few thousand Christians in the world. Today, that gospel has been spreading for 2,000 years. There are over 2 billion adherents of the faith. I think what Matthew would have said is, listen, I get it. You can't see it right now, but you can look back and you can see the man who conquered death and rose from the grave. And that is enough for you to go on, to know that one day he is going to come back. He is going to call in all the accounts and he is going to make everything good. And if we understand, if we see him like that, then our attitude, our response will be like the women. They clasped his feet and worshipped him. One last thing. And this, if you're still here and you haven't opened your extra door on the right, this is the time to look at it. Open that door on the right. There is one last thing. We have a job to do. If Jesus is an authority, we have a job to do. He says, therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. That astronaut, James Irwin, whom I mentioned at the beginning, he said this: before I entered the Apollo 15 mission, I was a silent Christian. But I feel the Lord sent me to the moon so I could return to the earth and share his Son, Jesus Christ. And actually, it's not just James Irwin's calling. If you believe this message, it is yours too. We've had a wonderful Holy Week here. And by the way, thank you to all of you who've made it happen in so many different ways. It's just been super. Last weekend, we had 4 baptisms, massive baptismal pool right here, people giving their testimony right here, talking about the huge change that Jesus has made in their lives. We've had the chance this week to share the good news of Jesus with all sorts of people coming in, including many who are really hearing it for the first time or for the first time in a long time. Maybe that's some of you here today. That's fantastic. Others here, you've heard this message before, but today is the beginning of a new Christian year. And the question is, will you in this year, will you make disciples? Will you make disciples among your schoolmates, your work colleagues, your family, your friends? That is Jesus' call. Will you join in the great chain of witness that stretches all the way from the first Easter Sunday to today and into eternity?
Thanks for listening to the Emmanuel Croydon Sermon Podcast. For more information about our church and everything we have going on, visit our website, emmanuelcroydon.org.uk. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.